Thank you all for hanging in there with us, and certainly we wanted to get some thought on how this practice went. And Greg Stucker from GoodYear is back with us here today, and Robin Pemberton, Vice President of Competition, and Carl Edwards, driver of the number 99 Fastenal Ford. And we'll let Greg just kind of make a couple opening comments, and then we'll open it up for questions for all three. So, Greg, got the new tires in and went through about a 75-minute practice. And what are you hearing, and what's your thoughts about tomorrow?
You know, we did get the tires in today. We were able to get 2 sets of tires available to all the teams for this afternoon's practice session. Currently, we're about 6 sets into replacing all the left side tires for tomorrow's race. So we'll have that wrapped up tonight, and teams will be ready to go for tomorrow. What we saw this afternoon, or this evening actually, in this final practice, we're very comfortable with. I think you know, all of our observations are reinforcement that from a tire perspective, it was the right call. Tire temperatures are down significantly. Obviously, speeds are down, you know, fairly substantially. Looks like we probably slowed race speeds down between a second and a second and a half. I think probably a lot of guys, and Carl can probably speak to this, but from what I heard, the balance was more to the loose side to start. But I think most guys were able to dial to that and get the car to at least where they know what kind of changes you know, they made, or they need to continue to make. But again, from our perspective, we like what we saw. We didn't see any issues whatsoever. Mark Martin, who had a number of issues yesterday, went out and made a 21 lap run this afternoon. Tires look beautiful. Very happy with what we saw. So again, we're very comfortable with the change and think it was the right choice.
Thank you, Greg. We'll take questions now, and if you have a question, raise your hand and tell us who you want to direct it to. And we'll start back here. Stan's got a question.
Stan Creekmore with RPMtonight.com. This would be for Carl Edwards. Carl, our gentleman from GoodYear just stated that Mark Martin went 21 laps. I believe a tank of gas is going to carry you to about 31 or 32, maybe a little bit further in the number of laps. Is 21 enough to be really comfortable with what you're feeling, or do you need to do it 2 or 3 times to do 21 laps?
Well, let me just start by saying I'm really frustrated overall here because I was told this was a press conference, so Robin could apologize for the Richmond thing. But since we're here for tires,
I had to bait you somehow. Yeah. We can get you here.
I got a pocket full of that bubble gum off the hauler, so I got something out of it. But I don't know if 21 laps is, obviously you'd like to go out there and run a whole race and try to you know, go as long as you can. But I think that by yourself with these conditions, cars should be very fast right now. And for Mark and everyone to be able to run as much as we did and to not have any trouble, I think things will be okay. Our 99 Fastenal Fusion, we didn't have any trouble yesterday at all. And just running just now, the cars seem to have a lot less grip. They seem to be a lot slower. As a driver, I didn't have that feeling of being in the corner just locked down, just grinding the tires against the pavement. It felt like the car was moving around quite a bit more. Corner speed seemed lower. And, you know, I honestly, I thought we were going to race the other tires, and I thought we'd just have to back up a couple percent and we'd be okay. But I think with this, I'm forecasting that we'll be just fine. I don't think we'll have any issues.
Let's go to Bob Pockris, and then Reed, and then Claire.
Bob Pockris, Sporting News. Carl, some of the other guys were saying that this tire in the past it took about 4 to 8 laps to come in, yeah. And they felt that played out today as well in this practice. Did you have the same?
Yeah, I pulled out for the first lap, and I pulled right back in. I said, man, I got a flat. There's no way this thing has no grip. So when we went back out, it had a lot more grip. And then when I was scuffing tires, you saw everybody trying to scuff those left sides to, you know, kind of bring them to life. The first couple corners are pretty slippery. So, I mean, essentially from 10,000 feet, what's been done here is we took a track and a tire that was very simple to drive, straightforward, you know, tons of grip, and they took some of that grip away and put it back into the drivers and the crew chief's hands and made the cars a little harder to drive. So for the first couple laps, it will be tough, and it might change your pit strategy a little bit. You might not want to get new tires if it's a short run to the finish. But I don't see anything negative about it. I think they made a very good call, and it's tough to do that on the spur of the moment, I'm sure.
Reed?
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Carl, there's a lot of correlation between the top 5 in practice today and the top 8 finishers at the 2006 race in Charlotte, where these tires were first used. Is that just coincidence, or is there some reason to think that there might be some sort of correlation?
Well, I don't know. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. But I can't say that we had some great notes or something.
Of time to think
yeah,
about it.
you guys are really good at that stuff. I told Bob, I said, man, it feels like the left rear tire's flat. And he laughed. He said, well, you want to put more air in it or take air out? I said, what do you mean? He said, it's from 2006. We have no clue what to do. So I don't think that's by, we don't have, us personally, I don't know if I should be admitting this, but we don't have an understanding of this tire. We're kind of, licking our thumb and sticking up there in the wind, seeing what's going to happen.
Let's go to Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Jeff Burton told me, and this was before this test today, he said that they didn't have a tire issue, and because of that, he almost wished they did because he didn't know what to feel. So given that you said you didn't have an issue, are you actually happier that you kind of know now? Would you have been able to go on not knowing what it felt like to blister and then not knowing where you were?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't think of it the way Jeff did, but I greedily, I thought when people were having tire troubles, I thought, well, great, we're not having tire troubles, so that maybe it'll take those guys out of the competition for us. Now it's probably the case where not very many people at all will have tire trouble, if anyone, and so now it's right back to a straight up race. So but I guess having not blistered any tires, I'm going to go as hard as I can, and I don't think we'll hurt any tires. I think the guys that were hurting tires, for some reason, their car was different or they're driving differently. And let me back up a little bit. When there's tire issues, if someone else is having them first, it's really no big issue for you. You just go race, and somebody else have a tire issue, there'll be a caution. You put new tires on. So if you're not the one having the issues, you don't have to worry about it too much.
Do you worry about the engine and the extra miles on the engine?
We worry a little bit about the engine, yes. Doug Yates came and talked to us a little bit, and I know some of the other crew chiefs were really worried about it. You don't want an engine failure. This racetrack is so fast, you're in the throttle so much that I think everyone understood, hey, let's not tax these engines too much in practice.
Bob, do you have another question? Bob, then Lee, then Stan, and Mike call it a night. Go ahead.
Bob Pocker, Sporting News. Greg, can you explain, it seems strange that a tire that's never been on a COT car is the backup tire for a race. Can you talk about what makes this tire the right tire for this situation?
It's simply the compound and the construction that matches up with a intermediate speedway. Like we talked about, this tire was raced at Charlotte. At the time, made a lot of sense for us to be our contingency, to be a backup. It's a known quantity. We know the compound, we know the construction, so that's why we've held them in inventory. So it was a matter of having something that we could go to in an emergency.
Let's go Lee, and then we'll finish with Stan. Go ahead.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Did you guys change your engine? And regardless of that, you're starting 42nd. You haven't started, or 43rd, wherever. You haven't started that.
So there's somebody behind us.
40,
must have been one
40
terrible qualifying
seconds,
session for them.
You haven't started back that far since 2005. What's your game plan for tomorrow?
Yeah, drive like hell. That's the game plan. Our car is very fast. That final session, we were very fast, and it drives pretty comfortably for as treacherous as these tires feel. What it was is I don't know if they explained it. It's the link between the primary and secondary butterflies had come apart, so we only had 2 barrels on the intake, and I guess if we were a little smarter, we might have been able to not get out there and get it fixed and everything. But it would just go race hard. I mean, if it just seems like it's like we have so many little things every week, but at least this one is something we can, we had before the race started. Hopefully we can overcome it. I mean, it'll make it a more challenging and in some ways a fun race to have that fast of a car and have the whole field sitting there in front of you. I mean, that can make for a fun day if it works out. But okay. Yeah, it was just it was the linkage. You'd have to go look at it. It looks just like a carburetor, but there's no fuel at that point. It's just letting air in, and it was the pin that holds the primaries to the secondaries. So, there's 4 barrels that are all supposed to open, and just 2 of them were opening. That's what it was.
Final question, Stan.
Yeah, it's actually one question each, one for Greg and one for Robin. Greg, if you will, just to clarify for me, these were tires that were designed in 2006, but the ones they're using tomorrow were actually manufactured in 2008. Is that correct?
They were actually manufactured in 2006. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And to Robin, I remember years and years ago when you were a crew chief on a car.
You can't remember back that far.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. And I'm thinking, was there ever I can't remember situations like this 20, 25 years ago.
Sure there were.
And okay, so can you remember?
We had a race, we had a race at Dover one time. We brought in tires actually Sunday morning and had a Sunday morning practice. And if I'm not mistaken, Kyle Petty won in Felix's car that day. And I think I was working for Rusty, I'm not sure. But
I think it was in 95, I believe, 1995.
Yeah, a long time ago, yeah.
You've been doing this a long time, huh?
It's my 34th year in the garage area, so.
First time I ever saw the great Robin Pemberton was at Flemington, New Jersey.
Nazareth.
Was it Nazareth?
Nazareth.
You remember this?
I remember the story.
Okay, so then I'm walking over there. I'm like, the guy sweeping the floor for Schrader, and, he let me ride around in the semi for the whole summer. And I'm walking over to get a hamburger at the little shack. I was like, man, there's Robin Pemberton. Rusty, you were doing Rusty's truck.
Yeah.
That's the deal. And had your uniform on. I was like, man, he's the greatest. You tripped over something, dropped all your French fries in the dirt and the grass. I was like, oh, damn, he lost his French fries. He bends down, picks them up, puts them right back in the things, walks off eating them. I thought, man, he's a pretty cool guy right there.
Yeah,
He's normal.
I needed fiber that day.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
It's good. We had a good time.
You've gone to the dark side now, but back then you were the man. You were awesome. Just kidding.
All right. Great way to finish the day here at Michigan.